Would you believe me if I told you this was the third time I had tried to record tonight? Because it is. But that's okay. It's a learning process. And I'm learning. The first time, my computer died. And then my phone died. And then my computer died again. And then my phone died again. And then my fridge came on. So that was cool. And then I just filmed a little video. And it turns out that the sampling rate of my microphone and the sampling rate of my phone were different. And thus, the audio wasn't synced at all. So for the first time, I am trying recording just on my iPhone and I can't hear the audio. So it's kind of a false end in that regard. But let's just dive in. So, what I was thinking was that we can just talk about movies that are on my list on Netflix. So, you have that thing on Netflix called My List, and apparently I've added things to it, which I don't really remember doing, but apparently I have. And so, I was thinking we could peruse. So, I have my computer right here, and let's get into it. So, the first show is Schitt's Creek. This is a show that I love. My best friend suggested that I watch it probably a couple years ago, and I was like, no. And now I feel like a fool, because the only thing that has gotten me through this past year has been the joy that Schitt's Creek brings to my life. My next show on my list is New Girl. I love New Girl. I love Zooey Deschanel. I love Jake Johnson. I love every single person on that show. And Ferguson, the cat. I used to watch New Girl when it would come on after Glee. And now it's the only thing keeping me sane. Just kidding. But it does play a large role in my mental health. The next show is a climbing documentary. And I have... Oh no. Oh my god. I realize that my phone is sitting on my computer, and when I move my arms on the table, then my phone wiggles. Sorry about the wiggles. I'll keep my hands off the table so they don't wiggle. So I have two favorite kinds of movie. Those are climbing documentaries and surfing documentaries or movies. And you'll know because the first movie is called The Dawn Wall, and it's about climbing in Yosemite. The second movie is called Soul Surfer, and it is the Bethany Hamilton story. It stars Anna Sophia Robb, and it's a gem. I remember taking the bus downtown to go watch it in high school, and it was a little more Jesus-y than I expected, but that's a huge part of Bethany Hamilton's story. Thus, I'm not mad about it. But I just love watching people surf. And I love the idea that one day I might surf. And I also just like the, like tropical island vibes. Like, that's a dream. The next show is the BBC show Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman. I liked the show a lot in high school. A lot. And I still do, but it kind of stresses me out now because it's kind of intense. But in high school it didn't. I don't know. I've just gotten soft. The next show is American Vandal, and I loved the first season. hysterical satire of the kind of culture that we have around true crime and, like, I don't know, these stories. I was really into it. I thought it was so funny. Then the next show is Arrested Development. Arrested Development is a keystone of my humor. It's so funny. There's 3 seasons that were made and that were on air, you know, in like 2010, maybe earlier. Yeah, I think definitely earlier than that. They came out a while ago, but it was never really popular when it was on TV, and then it got popular afterwards. And when I was maybe a junior or senior in high school, Netflix did a reboot of Arrested Development. So in like 2014, they did a reboot of Arrested Development, and it was funny. And then I think in 2019 they did another Netflix season of Arrested Development, and I haven't watched it. I watched an episode and I didn't think it was super funny, but there's something about a show and its time period, you know, like, one of the things that I think is just absolutely mind-boggling is in maybe the first or second season, which truly came out, I think, in like during the Bush presidency. There's a whole joke about building a wall between Mexico and the US, and it's a joke because of how small-minded and xenophobic these people in the show are, that is something that they would want to do. And then the president had that as like one of his core things. Like, in real life, art imitates life, I guess. Anyway, I remember, like, yeah, it was mind-blowing. The next show is The Good Place. I finished this show maybe a month ago. I love it. It was such a great exploration of, like, good and evil, and, you know, exploring the big questions of existence through absurd comedy really did something for me. I love every character on that show. I was sad for it to end, I'll be honest, but it was such a good ending. The next movie is The Princess Switch, starring Vanessa Ann Hudgens, our High School Musical queen. And this was a Netflix original holiday movie, and it was fine. Basically it centers around Vanessa Ann Hudgens and Vanessa Ann Hudgens, and one Vanessa Ann Hudgens is like a baker in the States, and the other one is a princess in the UK. It's a little bit Parent Trap situation, but you get to watch Vanessa Ann Hudgens do a pretty bad British accent, and that's pretty funny. The next show is I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which I just saw a trailer for on Netflix, and it looked super, super weird. So if you've seen it, let me know what you thought. I haven't seen it. I think it might be too weird for me to watch. Like, I get kind of freaked out by things, but it looked weird and good. The next show is called Yes, God, Yes, and I don't know if this is a show or a movie, but it stars Natalia Dwyer. And when I was in college, they were filming a movie in my small college town, I think actually on campus, and Natalia Dwyer was starring in that movie. And for those who don't know, Natalia Dwyer is, I think, the older sister on Stranger Things. So if you know her from that. And so she was starring in this movie on my college campus that was being filmed on my college campus. Oh, there we go, storytelling. And there was a house that always had parties every Wednesday night. And like Monty Python. Hats off to you. It's a great show. The next show is a Netflix documentary called Knock Down the House, which is about women of color running for seats in Congress. And it stars AOC and Cori Bush, I think. But I'm not actually sure about that. Let me double check. Let's see. Yeah, it does star Cori Bush. Big brain. Okay. I haven't watched it. My parents told me to watch it. And I haven't yet. The next movie is The Bling Ring, which stars Emma Watson. I watched this movie as a teenager. I don't remember anything about it. I think it's rich girls who steal from other rich girls. Truly don't remember. The next movie is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. As I said, love Monty Python. Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a classic. If you haven't watched it, I just want to ask you, what have you been doing? The next movie is called Dumplin'. It stars Jennifer Aniston, and she is a pageant mom. And it is a really good movie. It's so wholesome and kind-hearted and just a really, really good movie about beauty standards and about just being yourself. So, I liked it. The next movie is Moonlight, which is a queer coming-of-age story about a young gay black man. I think, where does he live? Maybe Miami. Yeah, in Miami. And it is a very beautiful movie. It's just, it's electric. It's so good. The next movie is Ladybird, and it has Saoirse Ronan and Timothée Chalamet. And, you know, I've never seen this movie, but they were killer together in Little Women. So, oh my god, and the little cover that's the cover for it, right, that's on the Netflix screen is just like Timothée Chalamet looking up angelically and like, oh my god, call me by your name. Anyway, I've been obsessed with the new Lil Nas X song, Montero, Call Me By Your Name. It's such a bop. The next movie is Perks of Being a Wallflower. I never read this book. I never watched the movie, but I feel like I should at some point. I feel like it was kind of essential reading / watching for people my age when I was in high school. And I never read it or watched it, so at some point I will. The next movie is a movie I actually did watch in high school, and it is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And if you don't know, this movie was also a series of comic books that slapped. They were so good. I remember getting them from the library, and I thought this movie did a really good job translating comic book style to film. That was so good. So the next, oh my god, I just got a notification. The next movie is Quantum of Solace. I love James Bond movies. I love spy movies. I truly don't remember what happens in this one other than they're in the desert. The next movie is What a Girl Wants, which is an Amanda Bynes movie. The title is in the font Girls MD. So if that gives you a sense of when this movie came out, you're the same age as me. This movie is, I would say, a predecessor to Princess Diaries. Amanda Bynes has, I think, an absent father, and she goes to visit him in the UK, and it turns out he's very fancy and formal, and she's American, and she has to learn how to be all fancy and formal, and like take her place with him and abuse of the gymnasts at USA Gymnastics, and about the culture and the toxicity of that. I don't want to say the sport, but of just the whole. Yeah, I don't want to like indict the sport, but the really toxic culture of silence that was kind of around him and around USA Gymnastics. The next movie is The Social Network. I don't even know. The next TV show is The Crown. I really liked The Crown when I had a concussion and it was slow and nice for my brain. Now I just watch the Oprah interviews with Meghan and Harry, and I don't have to watch The Crown. The next movie is Crazy Stupid Love. I love this movie. It used to be not on American Netflix, but on every other Netflix in every other country. And one of my favorite things to do was to watch it when I was in other countries, because it was on Netflix there, but now it's on Netflix here. Oh, that movie's so good. Next, I have the show Firefly Lane, which takes place in the Pacific Northwest where I live. And also, I just read the book and I thought it was pretty good. And I thought it would be a good TV show, so I'll watch it at some point. Next, I have the TV show, the Netflix show, The One, which is about like dating apps that use your DNA to find your like perfect match. And I don't know, could be interesting. And then finally, the last movie I have is I Care a Lot, which I've heard is a little bit like Gone Girl 2.0. And it's basically that main character in Gone Girl being a scammer again. But I've heard it like maybe isn't as good as Gone Girl, because Gone Girl was so good. So that's it. If you've seen any of these movies, let me know. Tell me what you think. If you have any suggestions for shows,